VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio. VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio. Basta all hits, all Pinoy. Kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan. VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio. 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 Basta all hits, all Pinoy. Kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan. VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio. 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 VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio.
This is V81 Radio Worldwide. Almighty God, grant us the courage of Jesus Christ, your Son, to face the coronavirus pandemic with trust, strength, compassion, and resiliency. Give us the grace of the Holy Spirit to free us from fear and anxiety, so we may do actions of help and support and look forward to our healing with hope. We pray for the health workers, food liners, maintenance cleaners, logistics abler, government leaders, and volunteers who continuously come together to deliver our daily needs to survive. Guide us from this time of crisis. Preserve us in peace. Protect the weak and vulnerable and those who serve the society during this pandemic. This we ask and pray in Jesus' name, our Savior. Amen. Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kantang tatak Pinoy. Kahit nasan ka man, kami ay mapapakinggan. Streaming worldwide. The future of radio in Manila, California, and Hong Kong. This is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta hot hits o Pinoy panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan. Oh,
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
V81 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. We now bring you the program that brings together leading personalities, representative insights, all together in a meaningful and delightful conversations as your social barometer. Let's chat with Tita Gracie. Let's chat with Tita Gracie, hosted by breakthrough millennial boomer Gracie Venezuela, only here on V81 Radio.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to welcome all our viewers in the Philippines, in the USA, and in all other countries of the world. You know, V81 Radio Worldwide is now growing, and we are growing stronger every week with power-packed programming, especially on a Sunday. And today, we are now already in episode 7 of Let's Chat with Tita Gracie, and I'd like to thank everyone who has been following the show, and we've been getting some great reviews and fantastic comments, and that really serves to inspire me every single week. And this week, I'd like to start off by sharing an interesting anecdote about our guest. This is back, imagine 2005, and that was July of 2005. And I get a phone call one night, and this guest of ours called me and said, "You know what? I have to fly to Singapore on Friday." And I said, "Michael, are you ready to do that?" So I said, "I can't believe you can just take off in 2 or 3 days without preparation." And he said that our friend, Junix Inosian, was stricken ill during rehearsals. And that they're looking for a replacement, and they are preparing a major musical that's going to be shown on the occasion of the Singaporean National Day. So I said, "Okay, why don't we, I can help you. Let's get the thing, everything you need, and just to make sure that you go and check this potential role out." And my friend, this guest of ours, flew to Singapore on a Friday, auditioned on a Saturday, studied the music, the entire play on a Sunday. They moved the rehearsals to the main auditorium of the Raffles Hotel on a Monday, fitted his costumes on a Tuesday, and had an opening night on a Wednesday. I flew in that Wednesday morning, and I was surprised to see on my way to the hotel that all the streamers along Orchard Road had a streamer with his name on it. And when we opened the program, as we sat down, I just found out that my friend auditioned for the lead role that was supposed to open in less than a week's time. This guy has been making astounding performances for many years. And that particular night in Singapore, on the 9th of July, 2005, my jaw was like on the ground. I was astounded because he learned a lead role in less than a week and performed to a standing ovation. After the show, that director who managed the entire production came up to me and said, "You have a strange friend." Well, that strange friend is our guest tonight. And with this PowerPoint, we're going to take a look at his tremendous acting odyssey. Let's roll that PowerPoint now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our guest for this evening, Mr. Michael Williams.
Hi, Tita Gracie.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, hi. Hello, everybody who's watching. Welcome. I'm so happy to be here and talking to you, Gracie.
Yeah, you can
What
call
an
me
intro,
Gracie
huh?
or Tita Gracie.
Yeah, Tita Gracie.
No, but well,
What an intro.
we've and I thought about that after lunch today, and I said, everybody who interviews Michael will talk about, he has more than 100 roles in all those plays, and he was in the original cast of Miss Saigon. Everybody knows that. But I think I'm one of the few who knows that story. And I think I surprised you when I dug up my old passport,
I know, right? That was such a
2005.
crazy time. That's just a
Yeah,
crazy
and we
time.
live in crazy times now, Michael. And
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
have you been coping with the pandemic and all of the ECQ lockdown? How's your lockdown life, Michael?
Um, I suppose it was a bit difficult at the beginning, because all of a sudden you have to stop everything you're doing, take stock of what's going on, and nobody knew anything, and and there was there was so much, I suppose, dust in the air, and nobody could see a way forward, right? Then as time went on, you start to settle down, and then when you get your bearings, and then you see a little bit better what you can do at the moment, right? So
Yes.
it's not bad, not bad.
Well,
I
I'm
mean, I
glad
was
that I'm
mhm,
glad that you've I would say adjusted quite well to
yeah,
having a lockdown life because
yeah,
I know that a lot of artists, a lot of friends in the artistic community have
yeah,
turned to doing virtual performances. Every
yes,
artist I talk
yeah,
to has been doing their bit, and it also helps them to cope with the situation. Have you
yeah.
participated in any of those? Uh,
I've done a few. Yeah, I've done a few. I've actually had to create a little nook in my house where the internet is the strongest, where I have ample light, and where the situation is good to broadcast or to participate in those things. I mean, I do a lot of meetings on Zoom and on applications like that, and sometimes they don't. You don't choose the time anymore. It's like sometimes they'll get a call at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. For a quick Zoom meeting or something. And the paradigm is shifted. Although I'm still quite productive. I'm attending a lot of meetings. I'm conceptualizing a lot of things, pushing things along. There's the whole pre-production aspect of our work that's being done at the moment. Having a sit down moment and focus on those things, because we can't do the physical part of it, as in going there and rehearsing and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's coming along, uh, coming along.
but I really believe that nothing can stop you.
Well,
I know that there have been times over the more than 15 or 20 years that I've known you that there have been times that nothing can stop you. And that particular show in Singapore was proof positive that your DNA is
yeah,
made of different stuff. But I don't want to
yeah,
get ahead of myself. I mean, I think this whole pandemic has, you're right, created a paradigm shift. I mean, who would
yeah.
have thought that I'd be a digital broadcaster in a battered booth? And, I know
It's
that this is an
interesting. It's very interesting how people are recreating themselves. You know what I mean?
true,
Very,
true.
very
I think
interesting to
that the
see it.
creative spirit, you're right, the creative spirit cannot be put on lockdown.
No.
And certainly, knowing you, there are things in the back burner always constantly sizzling. But then again, we have this entire show to explore that. And it's true that you are truly one of the country's most productive and most prolific leading men.
Ah, thank you.
And I say that with tremendous pride because I have seen a portion of your odyssey as an actor, as we saw in that PowerPoint, when you sent me that entire Dropbox full of about 100. I was revisiting a secret part. I felt like I was revisiting your attic and
Yeah,
uncovering all of these
yeah.
fantastic photos of you in different makeup and different character. And the life of an actor is just
Oh,
so colorful.
there's a whole other world apart from the ones that you see. There's a whole other universe somewhere in the boxes somewhere. You know, all of my career, there have always been people taking photos of shows. Of rehearsals, and and they send it to you. They give me a copy, and it's very interesting. I have to see what I've got because there's an ocean of it. I haven't looked.
Exactly. And it's one, I think the photos document a career spanning almost 4 decades. And I'm not trying to date you here, but all I'm trying to prove is that we've got so much to talk about,
Yeah.
and we're going to be tackling a lot of that over the next half. And it's interesting to be able to reconnect this way. And I know that this is like the new normal of
Yeah.
broadcasting over the internet, and we're reaching so many of the people that who have seen you in some of your shows in the past. And we're also connecting with people that are going to know you for the first time. And I'm sure that they'll be interested to see what your odyssey's been like. So in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come right back and we're going to explore the early years of the career of Mr. Michael Williams. Don't go away. This is Let's Chat with Tita Gracie on V81 Radio.
We'll be back shortly with Tita Gracie. Let's chat with Tita Gracie, only here on V81 Radio. May items ka na gustong ibenta? Or planning to buy something specific? Visit PinoyAds.ph, a free online classified ads na available to all. Post an ad para sa item that you want to sell. Or browse through the listing to find out what you're looking for. Connect with the community to explore, discover, buy and sell. Be the boss of every transaction sa PinoyAds.ph. After this pandemic, let's support the Filipino community. Buy local, visit local, go local. Big Benta, a Pinoy e-commerce site made for you. Enjoy hassle-free shopping with multiple payment options available. May local support din ready to assist, so you can enjoy peace of mind when you shop. Visit our website to check different product offerings. Get anything you want and avail everything you need in just one click. Big Benta, Pinoy e-commerce made for you. After this pandemic, let's support the Filipino community. Buy local, visit local, go local. Kabayan, nahuhomesick ka ba? I-download na ang aming mobile app at mag-enjoy sa mga kantang tatak Pinoy and feel like you're home. The V81 Radio mobile app, available in the App Store and Google Play Store. V81 Radio mobile app, free now, free forever. Back to Let's Chat with Tita Gracie, only here on V81 Radio.
Okay, and we're back with Michael Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Williams is our guest tonight, and he has been in the theater scene here in the Philippines for quite some time. And he started his career in the 80s. And what was it like training under the great Bebot Amador, Michael?
Well, all the rumors about her are true. She can be she can be tyrannical. She was very clear about what she wanted, and she knew how to get it, right? So you have to be ready to work with her, and she's very extreme. So I guess also because of the time, she was creating a theater industry where there was hardly any. 1982, when I started with her, they started in 1970, I think 1970.
Yeah, because I remember was it last year when Rep celebrated its 50th anniversary?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, or year before. But they started working out of their Volkswagen. Their office was in their Volkswagen, and that's how they built that theater company. Repertory Philippines was built like that, and she had to fight every inch of the way to create that theater company, which became very popular, um, very well attended, and they created a lot of productions. They had 12 shows a year. That's a show
And
every month.
when you start, so 12 shows in a year,
Yeah, there were two seasons a
major
year.
production a month.
Yeah, that was two seasons a year. Each season was 5 shows. And they have one musical that was in the small theater, which was Insular Life at that time. And then they had a big musical outside, which is usually either at the Rizal Theater, which is now the Shangri-La Hotel, uh,
Yes,
or the Metropolitan Theater, or the CCP.
yes.
So, if you were a regular in her theater company, like you're a stable part of the stable of actors that's held in repertory, then you were employed the whole year round. And
So what was life like?
wow,
You
it
would
was
be absorbed every day.
yeah.
You would be in the
Um,
theater.
Apart from the theater shows that we would do, there would be noontime shows for places like Cafe Alvarado, you know, um, and what would happen is, like, on a weekday, I would wake up at noon because I'm tired from the night before, right? Wake up at noon, rush to our office. That was in Land Bank before, I remember. And I would go around with the stage manager to help collect props. So we do our rounds, we pick up our furniture for the next show, our props and whatnot. And then we go back to the office before 4 or 5 for the rehearsal of the next play. And then we would rehearse till about 6:30 or 6:45, and then we would hot-footed. We would run from Land Bank to Insular Life Building and do the
That's quite
eight
a run.
and do the 8 p.m. show. So the minute you get there, you're eating your sandwich, putting on your makeup, changing into your costume, getting ready, and then zeroing down, calming yourself down, centering yourself before you go on and do the evening show. And then you do that again the next day. And
What
then
a
on the week,
commitment.
and then on the
That's really,
weekends,
yeah.
and then on the weekends we would have like a lunchtime show at, like I said, maybe uh, Calle Cinco or Cafe Alvarado. We would do an 11 o'clock performance. It's like a spoof sketches and songs to entertain the lunch crowd. And then the as soon as that is finished, I would rush to the rehearsal in the land bank building, and then do the evening show at night. And that's the way life was for us. Sometimes on a matinee day, we would have rehearsals between shows. So we would do a performance in a matinee, a 3 o'clock show. We will end at, let's say, what, 6. We would have a really quick meal between, and then a couple of minutes to rest. We will do the corporate rehearsal. We're doing a launch of some soap or something. We'll rehearse there, and then we'll finish at in enough time to put on the refresh to makeup for the evening show. So we were constantly working, and it was a great life. I learned so
But
much.
that tremendous experience as a young man, as,
Yeah.
as a professional actor in the
Yes.
early 80s,
Yeah.
was really a tremendous way to build your foundation as an actor.
And your strength. You have
Yes,
to
and
be
your resilience, correct.
physically capable of doing that. You know. So
Yes,
you learn to sing through a sore throat. You learn to sing through a cold. You learn to sing through a headache. You learn to sing through almost anything.
and since you were in repertory, you were like a family, very
Oh
close
yeah.
knit.
Oh yeah. We were like siblings, all of us. We were like we were really close. We were really family. We eat
And
together.
Tita
We
Bibot,
worked every single
yeah,
day. Yeah.
and she lorded she was the Tita Bibot who was like your
Yeah.
second parent.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So
And
she is actually my artistic. She and Baby Barredo. They're my artistic parents.
yes, but prior to your joining rep, did you ever train to be an actor? Did you study to be
Um,
interested in acting at
I have a
all?
I have a funny story. In school, I was always singing. I'm in the Glee Club. I'm singing the national anthem in the quadrangle. On the first day of the week. Um, I was in the elementary drama club, and then I auditioned for the high school theater guild, and I didn't make it. They turned me down. They turned me down, and yeah. So I was always performing. I was a part of our glee club and stuff like that.
Yeah. And when you started with repertory, were you given lead roles right away?
Oh no, no.
So you
Uh,
had to work your way through the
yeah,
chorus and through the,
yes, yeah.
all the way to the top. What was that like?
I
Getting
was
the
in the
training from Pibot.
I was in the ensemble uh, for my first show. I did the first show that I ever got into was called A Woman of the Year, Woman of the Year, and that played in Rizal Theater. And I auditioned for that and another musical that was going up. A funny thing happened on the way to the forum, but they got
Oh,
me for the big musical, and they liked my work there. And then an opening popped up in the season show, the one in Insular Life, and they put me in the season play right away. So I was a support role in in a straight when it's actually a French translation. La Dandon, it's a flea in her ear, which was it's these one of these comedies with mistaken identity, all these different doors, people running in and out. It's hysterically funny. I totally enjoyed myself. And then from that point on, it was support role, lead role, and then within a year I was doing a lot of the romantic comedic roles, by virtue of the fact that I guess I'm funny and that I could sing. So
yes. That's a very good combination. You're funny and you
yeah,
can sing
so
and you can
so
dance.
and I can dance. So yeah, I
And
got all those roles, and then as you go along, you get trained, you get yelled at, you get for being um, silly, for being indirect, for being impractical, for being, I don't know, whatever. So I got screamed at a lot.
I heard that there was one time that you were trying to sing something, and Bibot Amador got angry at you, and she asked if you were singing like Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, she
What
goes,
what? Can
obviously
you
because
refresh my memory? What's that?
I was trying to sing the song of the character in a beautiful way, because it, to me, it sounded beautiful, right? But I wasn't necessarily singing in character. But what she wants above all and all the time is for you to be in character. So here I was singing, making that song sound beautiful, and she goes, "Stop singing like that! You're not Barbara Streisand." And me, in my sense of humor, I go, "I'm not? Then who am I?" Of course,
Identity
cast,
crisis.
the entire cast broke down laughing. I guess she found it funny, but you couldn't tell because she was angry, at the time. So I
So,
got it for that.
since you did the straight plays and you did musicals,
Yes.
uh, what were your most memorable musicals during the
Wow.
80s?
I like musicals for several reasons, and I choose. I have favorites for different reasons. Either because the music is absolutely beautiful, or I had a memorable experience performing in that musical, or the musical as a whole was very moving to me in a particular way. So, but there's so many of them, I love Carousel for the song "If I Loved You," and that for me was very important because I realized, wow, you only really have a finite time in the world, and I don't want to be caught in the position where the character found himself, that he hadn't taken the time to tell the people that he loved how he loved them, and it was always this supposition in his head. So from that moment on, I was like a fiend telling everybody how I loved them. Right? I was just,
Carousel.
I went a little bit overboard, but you know that was
Yeah.
how much I was moved by that musical.
I
And
have a
then
short anecdote about that show Carousel, because I spent my growing up years studying in St. Paul's, Manila, and Father Reuter. That
yes,
was early productions. And I used to stay really late waiting for my sister to get dismissed. And I would spend every day inside the theater in the dark watching Father Reuter rehearse Carousel, because we had one major production every year in the Fleur de Lis Theater of St. Paul's. And that play, I was so frustrated because I saw all the rehearsals until the dress rehearsal, but I never got to see the real play.
oh,
So I was always looking at, because Father Reuter had his place on on top, and he would be giving directions, and those were the years when I sort of like was so enamored and so intrigued by this whole idea of theater. And and I know that you guys in rep, you had to undertake not just stage roles, but you had to do other things as well in the
oh
production,
yeah.
right?
Well, Bibot's Zenaida Amador, her vision was to create a viable career path for young artists like myself. But sometimes that's not easy to do. Look, for example, your theater company will do a show that features only women. What happens to the men, right? So there's a musical called Nonsense, for example, which is all about nuns, right? And there aren't any male roles. So how does she employ you? But she will find a way. So I was stage manager, or I was helping out with the lights, running the board, helping out with the microphones, or I was working in the front of house, selling tickets, selling programs, and she would pay me for those things, but nominal payment. But at
Yes.
least I was employed. I was still connected to the theater. and I didn't have to look for employment outside. I had a little bit of money that kept me engaged. It allowed me to stay there, and every year that you stay, she increases your wages. So if you're 2 seasons, you get so much more. Third season, you get a little bit more, and she rewarded that kind of a kind of loyalty that you would show the company. At the same time, you
Yeah,
learn
she
so
almost,
much.
yeah, and it everyone I talk to in the theater business here, and I've worked with quite a number of you guys. It seems like there's this awe, this like cult following, and they would always talk about their memories and their memorable moments with Dibot Amador, and she's really instrumental in putting the theater industry of the Philippines,
Yeah.
in good direction, right?
Well, there were two theater companies, and we consider these two theater companies consider themselves sister companies. PETA started, Philippine Educational Theater Association, um, started the same time as Repertory did, but they took two different paths, right? Repertory decided to be more commercial, do a lot of Americana, Neil Simon's comedies. They did their share of classics as well. They did Shakespeare, uh, Moliere. They did a lot of the French translations, and she worked her theater that way, and PETA did their own educative, more topical material. But
Yeah.
yeah, she created they created a strong theater going audience.
Yes, and also that very well-rounded approach to your foundation and your growth as an actor, uh, sort of had a turning point towards the late '80s when the whole Miss Saigon
Yeah,
phenomena
yeah,
descended on, and you were all ripe for the picking. So, and
yeah.
what was that like? The leap
Um,
from theater to London.
that was 1988, I think, when the first round of auditions happened, and we were all informed that it was this big producer that did all these shows, and we were all very very excited to go and audition. We went. I auditioned. I was doing um, Little Shop of Horrors at that time, and it was already at the tail end of the run, and it was such a big hit, that show, for us. And I already had no more voice. I was totally like, you know, I was warming up. I was vocalizing with a cup of coffee just to heat myself up, almost every day towards the weekend. But on the day that I auditioned, I actually had laryngitis and pharyngitis. And I remember Claude Michel coming up to me and going, "Can you hit this note? What about this note? About that note?" And I go, "That note, I can hit that note on a good day." And then they made me sing. And I sang my favorite song, "Something's Coming" from West Side Story. And
West Side Story.
he let me finish that song. And then soon enough, I found out I was part of the cast. So that was wonderful.
Yes.
The funny thing is, like I was telling you earlier, the work routine for us was heavy, right? We would work the rehearsal in the afternoon, the evening show. We would do those other event rehearsals between. So we were constantly working. But when we got to London, I remember the other Filipinos and I and Junix were saying, "Wow, we're only doing the one show." So it seemed like it was a little bit, it was simplified for us, but we were there, it was 9 to 5. We were there in the morning doing a warm up, getting ourselves physically ready for this very difficult show, and we were there the whole day.
And what was it like at that time with you joining? That was that your first time to join an international cast?
Yes, that was the first time for me to join an international cast, and to actually fly out to perform. And I remember and I remember walking into the Drury Lane Theater, and it was the most beautiful theater I'd ever seen. I mean, it was gilt, it was gold, red, big and ornate, and beautiful, and it was just an amazing experience.
So it was like it was really a turning point in your career. And how many years did you spend in London to perform for the
I
cast of this?
I did Miss Saigon for a year, and then I was taken to do the romantic lead Lunta in The King and I, also in the West End, and then also to do a tour
So
with
you
that
toured
company.
the UK and
Yes,
you went.
we also went to Scotland. Did we did Edinburgh and Glasgow, and then that tour almost uh, ran for almost a year also.
So what a leap. So from Manila, from Repertory Philippines, you joined the Miss Saigon cast, and after a year, you toured the UK.
Yeah,
Um, and how did you
that
change?
the
How what
by the
the
way,
biggest change for you? Yeah.
that The King and I was produced by the Hammerstein estate. That show spearheaded the centenary celebration of Rogers and Hammerstein, and
Oh
and
yeah.
I was the first Oriental Asian to ever play that role. Prior to me, it was always Hispanic, some Hispanic person, or
And to
or
think that
Latinate,
Mona is
whatever.
supposed to be an Asian, right?
Yeah, yes. So yeah, I mean,
So
it was it. I mean, but that's one of the things that I wanted to do. I mean, every actor would want to do a performance in the West End, right, or on Broadway,
yes,
right? So I was able to do the West End twice, but I was also able to do a lead role in the West End, which is what
yeah.
I wanted to do for myself, and yeah, so for my father too, I wanted to dedicate a lead role to him. So I was able to do that, and
Wow. And
yeah,
it was really a turning point, and your career went, oh, uh, little did you know that that really made a tremendous impact in your professional life as an
yeah,
actor. and
yes, it did.
and there's really nothing like getting out of your comfort zone and performing in an environment that's completely different from your
Yes,
country of
but
living and working there.
oddly, when you get into the theater and you're working backstage with other actors, it's not really that different. Actors the world over are exactly the same. We have the
Really.
same. Yeah, it's interesting. We have the same objectives. We have the same hang-ups sometimes. It's we're cut from the same bolt of cloth. In other words, and
Yes.
you get along with them because you understand them. So it was different because I was in a different country. There are cultural things, but the cast of Miss Saigon was a melting pot. We had Vietnamese people, we had French people, we had Malaysian people, we had Japanese people, we had Filipinos, we had Americans, we had the British people. It was a multinational, multiracial company, so it was fascinating.
Yes. And when you were so with I'm sure that there were shows, so you met dignitaries. Did you meet the Queen?
I did meet the Queen. I met Princess Diana.
Wow.
It was the Princess Fund performance, and I remember, oh, she was gorgeous. She was tall, and she had on a beautiful blue, baby blue dress. She was really a princess, gorgeous, and she when we were in a line, and she came to shake our hand, and I was listening to what she was saying to the other people, and she never had anything stuck. She really had a genuine interest in the people she was talking to, and she never ran out of things to say to people, and you feel like she's really interested in you. What a wonderful woman.
Wow. I mean, really, all the experiences and exposure and all of the
Yes.
learning that you derived from that time of your life, and it became, it really molded you and helped you grow further in your
Yeah.
career, yeah, and added to your list of faces in that last PowerPoint, because you have
Yeah.
roles over a decade and a half. If I
Yeah.
remember your bio, more than 100 roles. And I was thinking, how is that mathematically possible for one person to do more than 100 roles in about 15 years? Wow.
Yeah. It's really funny because the the when you're doing a show every month, right? Month after month after month, you 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 kind of become really aware of yourself and how you are similar in a way to the role that you did before or the one you're doing now. So you make more of an effort to find that thing that makes that character different from this character and expound on that, right? So whether it be an internal thing or an external thing, you do everything you can. So I guess that's why people always say, "Oh, you're always changing the way you look," but that's part of the job. You have to you
Yes,
have
yes.
to you have to assume an entirely different persona, and that includes the way you, I don't know, part your hair or wear your shirt. I don't know. So all those things. That's why I have all these different pictures of me looking like not me. You know, I once went. I once did a show. I did Scrooge,
Yes, I
and
remember.
yeah, Christmas Carol, and my mom. I said, mom, come and watch this show because she likes this story. She was 70 or something, or yeah, 70 plus at the time. So she went to watch the show, and then of course she had her own car, and I was, and then the next day she was so mad at me. She goes, I went all the way over there to watch that show because you said you were in it. I didn't even see you there. Mom, I was there. Where were you? I was Scrooge. That was you? So she was, and I'm like, yes, she did recognize me. So, stuff like that.
Well, truly, you're a man of many characters. You've evolved as an actor. You've been on stage, off stage, as a director, as a technical person within the theater. You've worked front of house, so you know how to
Yeah.
run show, and all of that prepares you for your current role, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Artistic director for the Resorts World Manila. Ladies and gentlemen, when we return, more on Michael Williams and his continuing odyssey as an actor and now an artistic director.
We'll be back shortly with Tita Gracie. Let's chat with Tita Gracie only here on V81 Radio. Para enjoy ang pakikinig sa V81 Radio kahit saan. We are now on your Amazon Echo devices. Just say, Alexa, play V81 Radio at i-enjoy ang inyong mga paboritong Pinoy music 24/7. Sabihin lang, Alexa, play V81 Radio. Kabayan, naho-homesick ka ba? I-download na ang aming mobile app at mag-enjoy sa mga kantang tatak Pinoy and feel like you're home. The V81 Radio mobile app, available in the App Store and Google Play Store. V81 Radio mobile app, free now, free forever. Tunog Pinoy, Tatak Pinoy, the future of radio. This is your all hits, all Pinoy internet radio station. This is V81 Radio Worldwide.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta hot hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
Now back to Let's Chat with Tita Gracie, only here on V81 Radio.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're examining the career, the odyssey, and the journey that our guest artist has been undergoing. And we've seen him as a guy on stage performing the different theater roles. And now let's take a closer look at his other hat. Because Michael is also a singer and a performer in various concerts. So let's take a look at the next PowerPoint. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
Michael Williams as the singer. And, I just realized that, with all the musical performances you've had at the cultural center and in other corporate venues and ballrooms for various shows, the the range of the songs that you know repertoire is quite extensive as well, right?
Yeah.
But what are your
That comes
favorites? What
from
outside the Broadway tunes, of course.
yeah, that comes from my father because my father is an audiophile. So growing up, we always had a music room that was all corked up and everything, and he had two reel-to-reel tape decks. He had two record players. He had an entire library of records ranging anywhere from bands like marching bands, to opera, to standards, to symphonic recordings. So he's got all of that. And on the weekend, there was even a time growing up, I remember, that he had actually wired the entire house for sound. So he could be playing, yeah, he could be playing the music in the music room, but we're hearing it in the living room. It's being piped into the kitchen, It's like that, my father. And then, yeah, so he would choose what he would like to listen to for the weekend, and then we'd listen to that. We'd hear it. So I got exposed to a lot of types of music.
So did you ever, as a kid, like get a hairbrush and sing in front of the mirror?
Been there, done that.
Because it's interesting because at that time, you know, we everybody, whenever there's a new record, a new vinyl that arrives in my house, it was an event. I mean, we all gathered around
Oh
the
yeah,
stage. I don't know if it's the same in your case. It was an event when my dad had to, open the whole
yeah,
thing, and
yeah.
we listened to all the cuts. And was that the same
Oh
in your?
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I remember we were going crazy over Spiral Staircase. You remember that album?
Yes,
We
yes,
loved Spiral Staircase. That guy with the most unusual voice, right? So, and we play
yes.
that. We play that ad nauseum in the house because we really liked it.
Yeah, in our house, the staple was Sergio Mendes,
Well, my dad had all that too. Brazil, the
Brazil
whole stereo.
'66.
Yeah, Brazil '66. The whole range of them. They had it.
And it was really like growing up. I think those we had similar experiences being
Yeah,
immersed in a house where music filled the air,
and then
and
yeah, and then
it was a
the
great time to grow up.
the in fact, my father had an album of Camelot, and it was a double album. And you open it up, and there was all these beautiful pictures of the performance of Richard Burton and Julie Andrews, and the costumes, and Pellinor with the big hairy dogs and everything there. And then I would listen to that record over and over, and I love the story of it, and I could sort of put together the story because of the songs. And of course I'd read the text in the album, and that was my first exposure to theater music.
Oh,
Yeah,
so cast, what was that, an original cast recording, or did they
yeah.
have that back
It
then?
was it's a Julie Andrews and Richard Burton recording of the show, and it was the release.
What was the play again?
Camelot.
Camelot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. With who were the actors in Camelot?
That
Um,
was Julie Andrews and
ah,
Richard Burton, and then Roddy McDowell was what's his name? The bad brother. The
who
What's his name?
played
I forget.
Lancelot in that?
I played Lancelot,
You played Lancelot.
but in that album, who played Lancelot was Robert Goulet.
Wow, a beautiful voice.
Yeah, gorgeous, beautiful
A
voice. Yeah,
beautiful. What was that? Robert Goulet, was he a tenor or a baritone?
I think it was a baritone. Beautiful
Yeah,
baritone.
beautiful voice. And I had a big crush on him when I was a kid because he had a beautiful voice
Yeah,
and,
so that was my my first exposure to theater music.
wow. My first exposure to theater music was Jesus Christ Superstar.
We had that album too.
You remember it was a black album with the
Yeah.
gold Jesus
Yes.
Christ
Yes.
logo. And it was such a prized possession because it was one of those open, a flip double album thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody knew the songs because we were singing everything from the musical, and I really love that intro song sung by the Judas character.
Ah, beautiful. And he had a gorgeous
Beautiful.
voice too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And well, this was the 60s or the 70s, I remember. And it
Yes.
was an event, to have music in the house. And my house was constantly filled with music. My dad had mambo parties with his buddies, and they would play and that. And like I said, opening an album was an event when a new LP arrived, and
Right.
and it sort of formed the taste. So, who were your early favorites? Like, who were the singers that you would emulate?
Um, I like the women because I found them very emotive. But I also liked in the early days. I liked Jack Jones, Robert Goulet. I like Andy Williams. All those standard singers, Tony Bennett. Um,
Oh yeah,
and then there was that married couple, Edie Gourmet and her husband
Steve and Edie Gourmet,
Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet.
Steve
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Yes. So, Mel Torme, those were the singers that I really appreciated. Of course, there was Ella Fitzgerald and Barbara Streisand, but I had a variety of them, and I used to test myself. I would hear a song and I would say, "Oh, that's Julie Christie. Oh, that's this," and I would go and check, because I would hear those records over and over, and it became a little contest with me to know who the singer was and what version of that jazz song that they sang. So it was fun.
Yes, and well, we've done some corporate shows over the last years,
Oh
few
boy,
years.
have
And
we
I
done
remember
corporate shows?
that uh, over like 2 years ago, we worked on a show called Jazz Beyond the Blues, and we had big band, and I remember that was you were like in your element when you're in front of a big band, Michael.
I love big band. I love singing to live music. There's nothing like collaborating with live musicians. I mean, there's that energy that kind of lifts you and makes it easier to sing when there's that collaboration happening.
And looking at your photos, I remember seeing an old program of a show that you did at the Cultural Center, which is the Late Night Cabaret. And I
Yes,
remember
yeah,
I saw that show. This was back in 2002 or 2003, really
right.
early this century. And it was interesting because I was thinking back then, I wish I could hear Michael do more songs, more. Did you ever cut an album? Did you ever record anything that?
It had always been suggested to me by several people that I should do an album. I should record my voice. I should do, Coco Laurel is the first to tell you. He's always hounding me to record. But there doesn't seem to be any time to do it. I'm always working on something. There never seems to be the moment or the time to do it. And then also, what is an album? If it's a collection of songs that mean something to you, or that talk about something that's important to you at the moment, right? So I never really get a chance to sit down and wrap my head around the idea of what would I want to sing about, what songs would find their way in that album. So I don't know, maybe someday soon.
Yeah, but one way that I think you're able to express your vision or your wish list as a musical soloist, musical performer, is when the cultural center organized the Triple Threat
Right,
uh, production, and
right.
I think you were given free reign as to the repertoire and what kind
Yeah,
of music to
yes,
perform.
yeah. Actually, that program that you're referring to earlier on, that Unang Hirit Cabaret,
Yes.
is the precursor to all of those shows.
Oh,
The triple threat series. That Unang
yes.
Hirit is a precursor. That was one of they were trying out the idea, and I was one of the people that they'd asked to perform for them. Yeah, the triple threat. I decided to to showcase a different side of myself, and I turned the little theater into a little lounge. I pushed everything down. I had, my favorite musicians come and work with me, uh, and uh, and uh, and I worked very hard to make it intimate and sing to the audience, and engage them in a very direct way. So working very hard to eliminate all of that space that's between me and my audience, and I enjoyed that. It was very I I was really putting myself out there for that show, and
Yes.
I
I
also
wish
I
that,
also
yeah,
I also had the opportunity to put up a little painting exhibit in the lobby, because I was also in love with the idea of painting, and I was working with a a painting coach, a painting instructor. So she helped me hang that exhibit out in the front. See, Emmy Mercado helped me put that
yes.
exhibit up.
That was a beautiful event. I attended that concert, and I was there during the after party in the Little Theater lobby, and the paintings were amazing, especially the one of you as Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Yeah.
It was a gorgeous piece, Micah. So you painted that.
Yes, I did. That was oil on a really big piece of wood.
You should do more
uh,
painting.
I would if I had the, I guess, inspiration and the time to do it. It was just somehow easier during that time. Now it's a bit difficult for, I don't know, many odd reasons. But that you mentioned that painting of Don Quixote. That's my favorite character. That's my favorite character in a musical, and that's my favorite musical. One of my favorite musicals. Um, it's such a beautiful story, and it's always so uplifting, and uh, and I would love to do that role again.
Yeah, I think I would say that among all the musicals that you performed in as the lead, and among those that I have seen, and I missed the first part of your career. Pre Miss Saigon was, I was not so much hooked into theater back then. The first role, though, that I saw you in was in Les Miserables when I arrived from the States, and I found out that Repertory was staging Les Miserables at the Meralco. And I remember a few months before that, I had saw touring cast well, it was in San Francisco where I was studying at the time. And when I found out that there was a special production of Les Miserables in Manila, of course, I had to see it. And the first time I saw you on stage was during that show, that Les Miserables in Manila. So, could you tell me a bit about that experience?
My hair down to here, right?
Yeah, it was long, and I
Long.
remember you with the big shoulder pads.
Yeah.
It's
That that was a very interesting production, because at that time I was I had developed I found my niche, right? I was the comedic romantic of the company. Normally when the shows would be discussed, you kind of already know I'm going to be casted in that part or this part, right? So Javert I was totally anti-casted for Javert. Um, thinking that everybody thought that I would be more Marius, right? And I was casted as Marius, the romantic lead. But then I was alternating with Jaime Blanche for the romantic lead,
Hi there, yeah.
and then Audie Himora was in the show too. He was supposed to be Javert, but he was also doing something for the CCP. He was, I think, had a touring show of Noli Me Tangere in Japan, and he wouldn't have been allowed to go if it meant that our rehearsals for Les Miserables would have to stop or in some way be rescheduled or jumbled around because we didn't have Audie. So Audie kept badgering me to do the rehearsals for him, to sub for him, right? You know, it's not, it's not, I'm not, the first person you'd think of to do that role, right? So I kept saying, no, no, you gotta do it. Because no, I gotta do that show. You gotta, you gotta cover for me. You gotta go do the rehearsal. Sige na, And I finally said yes. So I did. And I know the music, but when you look at when you study it and you understand what this character is saying, where it's coming from, I went down that rabbit hole. I got so absorbed into the character of this guy, this tragic hero. He's really heroic, but he had a flaw, and so you kind of feel for him at the same time, and you dislike him, but you understand what he's going for, and I just kept rehearsing and deepening my understanding of the character until opening night. I opened that show. And then
Yeah.
Audie came back after our first week or second week run, and he performed for a weekend or so. I think I'm not sure anymore. And then we found out that he had typhoid, so he had to be brought to the hospital, and I had to step up and do the show again. And I ran it from that point on all the way to the end already. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, because
And
I was I was in, like Les Miserables for me was one of the productions that I fell in love with, and it's one of my all-time favorite musicals.
yes,
And that particular show at the Meralco was really groundbreaking because at that time Manila was not really in the, I would say, in the touring
no,
map of the big
yeah.
production companies. And what was it that made the producers, the owners of the show, give a special permission to repertory to stage that production?
Well,
What happened there?
don't forget, Les Miserables is also produced by Cameron McIntosh
Okay.
and written by Alain Boublil and Claude Michel Schoenberg. So they knew that a lot of the Filipinos, half of us that went to London came from Repertory Philippines.
Okay,
So
that's
so he had the soft spot for us, and he Claude Michel came to watch a music rehearsal of ours. Also, it was an honor to have him watch us, and
yes.
yeah, and that was a very, very well received show.
Oh yes, it was
It's a wonderful
to me.
experience.
I can still remember. I mean, because it was, when the stage was turning in
Yes,
Meralco and the scene changes, where I
yes,
was floored. I said, they can do this production in the Philippines. I was so proud, and I was really so happy because,
yeah. That was
by that time, yeah,
that was a special built flooring. We lifted the flooring and we had a special revolve built for that
yes,
show.
yes, and then so many other shows. Because I met you, I think that was around a few years after Lemis, because you already had short hair. I didn't meet you when you had long hair.
Right.
But I still distinctly remember the night we met in a place called Insomnia,
Yeah.
and our common friend Rem Zamora and Mark Higgins said, "Gracie, we'd like you to meet Michael Williams."
Yeah.
Theater actor, and the night progressed, the party progressed, and then I would gravitate towards you and Rem and Mark and all that. And then at some point in the evening, I remember I was turning you into a jukebox. Because we had a game. We had a game. We played the game, and Rem said, "Name musical, any musical. Michael can sing a song from that musical." And I said, "What?" So Rem,
Oh
Rem,
my God. I remember that.
if I can name a musical that he can sing a song to, for every correct answer, or if there was a
You would
musical
drink.
he could not sing a song, I got a free drink.
Oh my God.
So I
It's
would say
too funny.
everything: Showboat, Carousel, Camelot,
Yeah.
Cup
Yeah.
of Horrors,
Oh,
uh,
I love them. I
everything.
love them
That
movies.
night was good. And then I'm not getting any drinks. This guy can sing every single song that I
Ah,
from
that's
any
funny.
musical. And that's how we met, Michael. That
I
face.
remember that. Yeah. And then it was downhill from then on.
It was, oh yeah, the bobsled just kept
Oh,
on
that's
going.
too funny. I remember that night. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, those nights were crazy. And
Yeah.
I have to thank Rem Zamora and
But
shout out.
I would always cheat, and Rem would always help me, cause
Yeah,
after the show I try not to drink, right? So I would have the bartender make me a Sprite or a Seven Up with a little bit of the cherry water in the bottle, and the
yeah,
cherry, so it looks like I'm drinking an alcoholic beverage, but I'm not, right? Or I would have Rem, our friend Rem, I would have him give me a cup of hot milk. And it goes,
yes,
really? Hot milk? So that's what I would be
I remember
drinking.
that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I
But
just so I could
anyway,
hang out with you guys.
it's great that since the late '90s, we became friends. We collaborated on some great corporate shows, very memorable ones, and we even toured for Disney for a while. And that's when the friendship progressed, and I always remember those years. And then I remember that from being a performer, and from doing corporate events, and doing directing the shows that I would produce for our clients, you went ahead and started a theater company,
Yes.
right? Tell us a little
Right.
bit about that special
Um,
time in your career when you started a theater down south.
yes. When I started in 1982, 1983, part of the work over the summer months were to do summer workshops
Okay.
for repertory. So I would always be teaching. I was an assistant teacher for Junix. I was an assistant for many of the others that would do that before me. And then eventually I started teaching my own classes. And I did that every summer. In a way, it's like my giving back to the industry that had given me so much, right? And I have not stopped teaching since 1982. Even to this day, I still teach. I moderate the drama club of two schools. Anyway, so I had a teaching stint in La Zalzabel. I used to teach there. I started teaching there, moderating their drama program. When they opened, there was nothing else in Alabang except that McDonald on the hill, and I did their productions. So I was turning out a lot of performers from that school. And so at some point, there was a critical mass of them, and they wanted to participate and in the performing arts, but didn't have a way to do it because they didn't have anything by way of theater in the South. So I thought, why not put up a theater company, which should be like the catch basin for a lot of those people that we were giving workshops to,
Yes.
who wanted to perform, and create a little community theater for them there, and we did that. So, and that was a lot of fun, and we created many original productions, and they're still going strong. Although um, we're now called Rude Mechanicals, and they're still going strong. And every now and then they consult me. I let them take the company, and they do what they want. They
Yes,
took it to
yes.
a different direction. So I didn't want to, have a stranglehold. I wanted the company to grow in whatever direction the members felt like they should take it to. So
Yes, and
that's how
I
that
truly
was.
admire those. I truly admire that company, that Theater Down South, because I was so proud when I had a corporate event a few years back, and we had to do a launch for Philips, and that was a very good collaboration we had. And I
Yeah, that was
remember we
fun.
were launching the LED lamp,
Yeah, the light bulbs. Yeah,
and my client was so shocked because we turned the second floor of the Wilcon store, which is a hardware, a giant, like a Home Depot type of a facility, into a performance space. And in the finale, they sang Gangnam Style. They changed the
yeah.
and
That was my
everyone
company. Yeah.
stitches, but it was so effective. And we performed that in front of the press, and they were so impressed with the talent that you had put together for
Yeah,
that.
those are my kids.
That
Yeah,
was an
my
amazing show.
Frankenstein's. Yeah.
But teaching, training young people, and passing on your experience and your learning to the to kids has been an advocacy of yours for many years now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't stopped teaching. The only time I'd stopped teaching was the years when I was in London, and then
Wow.
maybe a little bit after I arrived because I was like doing the rounds of the events and the concerts and lounge shows and all of those things straight off of my arrival in London. So from London, so I was very very busy. But I soon got back into to teaching not too long after that. Yeah,
Yes. And
I enjoy it.
it's great, and I think that you're grooming generations of new artists,
Oh yeah, I've had
even in the stages now.
yeah, I've had students that actually broke into the professional bracket. I've had a young boy from my one school who is, well, everything now has stopped because of the pandemic, but prior to that he was part of the touring company of Lion King as young Simba.
Wow.
He auditioned at some point before. It didn't quite make it, and then he was in my class. He's a very talented young boy. Was in my class for like maybe a year or so, and then he had the opportunity to audition again, and then this time he got it right, and I was
Wow.
so happy. Yeah, really,
It's so
really,
must be
really
so
grateful.
gratifying to see someone you
Yeah,
groom and you train.
and then I also had another student who was able to join two productions for Repertory Philippines as a lead, one for their children's theater and one for their main show.
Yeah.
So it it's very satisfying to see that the work that I'm doing with those kids uh, come to
Yes.
some kind of fruition.
Yes. And about around what 5 years ago you joined Resorts World Manila. Was that about five
Right.
years? And
Yes, I think a little over 5 years.
okay. Now tell me about
Oh,
your new
more
role,
no, yeah, yeah,
artistic director
more than
of
five. Yeah,
More Than Five.
yeah.
And what's it like being part of the artistic team of the Resorts World Manila?
It's fun. It's challenging. It's exciting. We're doing a lot of new stuff. We have a gigantic theater to play with. We have an enormous house. Our house currently seats 1,500 people.
Wow.
And our theater has a lot of technology in it. We've got beautiful LED wall, great lighting system, an amazing sound system. um, and then we have people that are very interested in the performing arts, and the development of new work, and the expansion of the local industry. Our president, for entertainment, Mr. Kingston Sian, is very supportive of us, and he's always backing us up, allowing us, enough latitude to create new work and explore what we need to do to come up with these really nice productions. So, yeah, I am enjoying working there. And of course,
Yes,
I work
and
with I work with Menchu Lachenko,
Manchu.
Yulo, who is a dear friend of
Yes.
mine. So it's fun.
And recently, I think the groundbreaking work that you and Manchu did, your collaboration with Eraserheads and Ellie Buendia, has created the phenomenon that is Ang Huling El Bimbo.
That's
And
right. Yes.
it's just, I saw one of the shows during the last run, and I was with a bunch of people who were all coming from overseas, and it was for them it was their first time to see a local production.
Right.
I tell you, the last half hour of the show, there was not a dry eye in our row.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I brought a pack of tissues because
Yeah.
it was it was so riveting. That last scene was so riveting, and it was so
Right.
memorable for me and for the rest of us. And it was just, to me, it was a tremendous surprise that the songs of Eraserheads could be put together and
Yeah.
strung into this riveting story, this such a memorable piece. I mean, and you were one of the guys who really fought for that project, I remember.
Yeah. We it, you know when you're creating something new, right? There's always those scary edges that you don't know, where to take it, where should it go, how do we do this, how do we get there. But we had a fantastic creative team. I was working i was doing a musical called Dirty Old Musical at the time, and
Yes,
I was working with Dexter Santos, who was directing that, and Mike Salmon, who was doing the music for it. But I was aware of their work prior to working with them in Dirty Old Musical, and I thought that they would be perfect. So I got approval from our team to invite them to work with us, and we did. And then also, I watched the Virgin Lab Fests over at the
yes,
CCB, and there was one piece there that struck me. It was very, very well written, and I approached that writer, Ding Dong Novenario, to come and work with us, um, to put the show together. But the task is not a straightforward one because we're using existing music with lyric, and the music of Eli Buendia and the Eraserheads are very. It's very it's very situational.
yes,
There's always some kind of story already built into the music and the lyric, right? So we had to reverse engineer everything to create that story that would fit, right? Um, but obviously, the gem of the show is really the song "Ang Huling El Bimbo,"
yes,
which had an MTV and a story of its own. So we used that and extrapolated from there. That was the core story that we were telling. The story of that girl in the video and that guy singing about that girl in the video.
Yes.
So
In fact, I
we,
had to explain that to my companions that it's not
yeah,
the lyrics of the song, but if you see the MTV,
yeah.
that's the idea of this the
But you
girl,
see, but the musical
the
stands
romance.
alone. You don't need
Yeah.
any priors. You don't need any priors. You'll get it, right? And we were telling a story of four people in a specific time and place, right? And Dexter's brilliant direction and choreography, Mike's amazing arrangement, um, and we were just grateful that the people allowed us to deconstruct that music and use bits of it in certain parts and put certain pieces of it together, and we were allowed to paint that picture, tell that story with that music. And of course, it amazing set uh, by Gino Gonzalez, and then
Yeah, Gino.
Marlon, Marlon Rivera doing our music, and then Monina Duki doing our lights. I mean, it was a
Wow.
recipe. It was a
That's
recipe for perfection, you know.
for
Um,
success.
yeah, and
And
it
for the
was
benefit of our audience, I mean, these guys are were behind some of the iconic productions in other companies like
oh
in
yeah,
Tanghala Pino, at the
yeah,
CCP, in PEP, in PETA, because the community of artistic talent, technical brilliance of the guys like Monino and Gino and all that. And that talent pool is accessible to you, and you're like, you're like a charioteer, and if you have a production you're putting together, it's a big
yeah,
risk,
yeah,
and you're lucky and you're in the right position, you've been in the industry for so long, and you're friends with this community of
yeah,
creative talent, and to put together a new show, a new production, it really
yeah,
helps if you have the right people with you in your team.
yeah. And what's wonderful about all those people is they are so collaborative.
Yes.
They're so willing to work together for the ultimate good of the show, and nobody has such an ego that we say, hey, you know what, maybe we can do that better, and then they'll say, you know what, yeah, let's try it. It's not like, nobody gets offended at a suggestion of trying something different, or
Yes.
it was wonderful working with them. And we had to go back over the story, fine tooth comb everything, and of course we had a dramaturg come in. Floyd Quintus came in also to help us fine tune, um, and it's an original piece like that. There's never really an end point to it. It's always evolving, always perfecting itself and getting better and better and better. And I think this is. I think you could consider this production a modern classic, because it sort of transcends the time and the place of its
Yes.
narrative, and it's
Because
still
the play itself is set in the martial law years, right?
yes,
Yeah,
just
after,
after
or
the
yeah,
martial
that
law.
that time, that milieu
Yeah,
immediately after martial law, and I
yeah.
remember because the car that you use was like that box type
Yes, yes.
car, the
But
box.
what's amazing about the production is that
Yeah.
it elicits such strong reactions from people,
Yes.
and it fosters a lot of heated debate and discussion, and that's what art does. Art challenges
Yes.
opinions. It unseats your status quo. It makes you think. It fosters thought and
Yes.
debate and discussion. So on
Challenges
that
you.
level, yeah. So on that level, the show succeeds, and of course, it's beautiful to look at, and
Yes.
those performers sound amazing when they sing.
True.
So it's one of those shows that I think will be remembered for a long time to
Well,
come.
certainly during this time of pandemic, when your team decided to put the show on live streaming, you
Yeah,
got enough record. How
Yeah.
many did Ang Huling El Bimbo get?
Oh, something like 12 million views or something.
Wow.
Something like 12 million views all over the world, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and
It,
that's one thing about what happened with the pandemic. Of course, it's sad that all the theater performances had to be cut and stopped, and all the live events have been stopped. But the transitioning to digital gave access to the material like Ang Huling El
yes.
Bimbo, no? And all the other
Yeah.
shows, CCP, they now share the material, their digital archives, or in the YouTube
Yes.
channel and in
Yes.
some other digital platforms. So, of course, there's a bad side, there's a negative side to it, but I think the
Yes.
positive the benefits far outweigh the negative.
Um, yes and no.
Okay,
Um, what you lose is the urgency,
of
the
course,
the vitality of the show. Anything that you can record and put on pause and go back to 10 hours later is not urgent, right?
yes,
When you perform live, you gotta pay attention. You gotta be there in the moment. You gotta watch it, or you're gonna miss that moment of
yes,
that live performance, and it's never gonna happen again. Even if you go back on the next night, the same performance, the show is somehow different. It's never the same. You lose the immersion. You immerse yourself in that world that's being presented to you. The music will wrap itself around you. You're in that space. You're right there
yes,
in front of it. You lose that. It kind of gets flattened a little bit on the flat screen, whatever you're watching it on. It gets flattened. Like if I'm watching a show on my iPad, the real world around me is so present that it's so easy for me to get distracted, right? A little bit more difficult to get lost in the material in a way that you would do if you're watching live.
yeah,
Um, the plus of it is the access. All of a sudden, everybody can watch these shows, right? And all of a sudden now theater is so, oh wow, it's amazing, that's incredible, because people don't get the opportunity to watch live performances all the time. So in a way, um, that's the good part of it. But I do believe that things will go back to the way they were to a certain degree. I mean, I don't think that this what we're living now, this shift will be this way forever. Um, I think that we make all these adjustments, right? When the flu first came out, people were panicked. People didn't know what to do. But then there was an adjustment to the flu. People will say
yes,
now, oh, I won't come into work because I'm feeling fluey. I have a flu. Okay, so, or, oh, I won't kiss you right now because I think I'm coming down with the flu. So there are behavioral changes that we've adopted and have become part of what's normal, right?
yeah.
With
Well,
with the arrival of HIV, for example, you know, interpersonal relationships have changed to
yes,
accommodate the reality of HIV. But people
yes,
still get married, people still have
of course,
children, people still fall in love. So they've made an adjustment as part of that new normal, right? So
yes.
we're just
And
trying to
I
figure
think,
out what this virus is all
yeah,
about.
you cited something very significant, because even when the theater goes back live again,
Right.
of course, the paradigms, we can't really plan how we're going to go. But I think that all of this, the live streaming can never replace being in the theater. Cannot
Right.
replace being in the theater and experiencing, being absorbed and fully, grasping the
Right.
whole experience of being in theater. But from a marketing standpoint, this I feel is going to create a fresh demand for
Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
material. Yeah.
It's this new part of performance,
Yes.
reaching out to the public will always be there now. This is
Yes.
now part of the adjustment. Now people can reach out to their audiences. Um, People understand what more or less theater performances are like. They get it. They understand, right? So
Yes.
now there is this avenue that has opened up and coalesced. Now it's now a another way to reach out and communicate and
Yes.
perform. So it's never gonna go away. It's just sort of like galvanized and revitalized now.
Yes. I think that we've just whet the appetites of our audience, given the fact that we only have 2 hours tonight, Michael.
Yeah.
The experience that you've shared with us, the stories are like, I think for those that know you, I'm sure that they're really happy to see. In fact, we have some friends that are watching us,
Oh,
and
really?
shout out to some of them. Yeah, there are a lot of them, but if I start reading the names now, I'll take forever. But I think that what's important is that you're in a position right now of influencing a new kind of audience, building a new kind of theater audience that are, not just the millennials, but even the younger generations that will eventually be your theater audience with your productions in Resorts World, especially ang Huling El Bimbo. I think it opened up the eyes of so many people, and
Yes.
even productions like the Bench Boys music
Yeah,
and
dirty old musical. Yeah.
the Dirty Old Musical. Can you imagine? I went to school in LaSalle. I knew some of those Bench Boys guys. Here is this musical talking about them many years later, and I'm just telling myself, the Manila theater scene has become so robust and so
Yes.
vital, so
Yeah.
current, and
Yeah.
has
Do you know
begun
that? I'm sorry.
mirror our social milieu. What are your thoughts about that?
Do you know that I sit on the I'm part of Phil Stage, which is the like an umbrella group of theater practitioners, producers, and actors, and we have how many do we have now? 15 professional theater companies as part of
Wow.
Phil Stage, and everybody's busy doing shows, and we're now actually talking about calendaring our shows so that we give the audience enough time to see all the productions, right? And
Yeah.
it's a far cry from when the old rep days when there was really only what 3 or 4 theater companies at
Yes.
that time, you know, and now there's so many, and only of the Field Stage members, but there are so many others in campus-based theater companies that do amazing stuff.
Yes.
And, yeah, it's a very
Theaters.
vibrant industry.
It is. It is, and a lot, and with the unfortunately because of the pandemic, all the theaters
Yeah,
have ghost light mode. But
yeah.
I'm certain that somewhere down the horizon, those lights are gonna go back up again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go on our last break, and when we return, we're gonna do rapid fire questions about what to find out what makes Michael Williams tick. Please come back. Anyway, we're going live broadcast. There are always technical difficulties. Anyway, we're just gonna go quickly. What are these uh, um, rapid fire questions? Okay. Most memorable blooper on stage.
Oh no. Okay. I just finished the death scene from Lenis. I jumped off the bridge. I ran to the back, and my throat was very parched. Oh, on stage or off stage? On stage.
On stage, on
Oh,
stage.
on stage. Blooper on stage.
Because I think
Oh
I know
man.
about that backstage blooper in Les Mis.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about that one. So, I was getting a one of those lozenges from one of those tin cans, and I couldn't open it, and it exploded like that in my hand, and I yelled out some profanity that got picked up on my mic because I'd forgotten to turn it off, and that was heard by the audience in the front. And Bebot came storming down to the back. She goes, "If you have to swear, do it in French." So that was one of those
Okay,
bloopers.
one more quick question before we go on the
Okay,
break.
okay.
Most memorable moment with Bebot Amador.
Most memorable moment with Bebot Amador. Okay. I think it was one of those times when she was yelling at an actor for some ridiculous thing that he had done, and she was like livid. She was red. And she was, explosive and blah blah blah, all that stuff. And then at the end of the whole tirade, she goes. She looks at me and she goes. She winks. She goes like this. So it was all an act, and that's the most memorable moment I had with her. And I realized she was doing it to emphasize how angry she was and how important this thing that she's trying to get out of the actor was.
Anyway, after the break, we're gonna go for more rapid fire questions with our guest, Michael Williams.
We'll be back shortly with Tita Gracie. Let's chat with Tita Gracie only here on V81 Radio. I-download na ang aming mobile app at mag-enjoy sa mga kantang tatak Pinoy and feel like you're home. The V81 Radio mobile app available in the App Store and Google Play Store. V81 Radio mobile app. Free now, free forever. Para enjoy ang pakikinig sa V81 Radio kahit saan. We are now on your Amazon Echo devices. Just say, Alexa, play V81 Radio at i-enjoy ang inyong mga paboritong Pinoy music 24/7. Sabihin lang, Alexa, play V81 Radio. Now back to Let's Chat with Tita Gracie only here on V81 Radio.
Okay, and we're back. And this is our last 15 minutes. And, Michael, we've answered some of the quick fire questions over the last hour, but I think I've got still a few more here. Dream role that you successfully played on stage. What's that role?
That would be Man of La Mancha as Don Quixote.
Don Quixote. How about a dream role that you still have to play?
That I still have to play. You know what? I don't have a dream role that I want to play. That's so strange. But a lot of people ask me that, but I don't have one. Maybe the male version of On a Clear Day.
Of course, it had to be a Barbara Streisand role.
There is a male version.
Yeah.
But I'm too old for that, right?
Yeah. How about best comedic performance?
Okay, there is an awful play called Moose Murders. I play the role of a throwback flower child who's always doped up, and his name is Stinky, and he has an Oedipus complex, and they have a really weird family. It was this guy's totally constantly doped up, right? And then he encounters the murderer, who's pretending to be an evil monster, moose monster in the moose lodge. And so he encounters this moose in the lodge at night, and he totally freaks out. It's one of my favorite roles because the character is so whacked out. And I remember the audience response to that was just hysterical. I mean, people were crying in their seats from laughing. I enjoy that.
One of the things that I would wish to see more of is more comedy roles, comedy
Yeah,
performance,
yeah.
Michael. After this pandemic, I just want to sit down in a theater and laugh.
I
Just
totally miss it. I miss it. I love playing in farces and comedies. I totally love it.
yes,
Totally love it. But maybe we
yeah.
should do
And then
something like
I
that.
hope to see some of that. When theater comes back to the new normal, at least.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And then another thing, one other quick question: do you like playing the hero or the villain?
The villain is always much more fun. The
Yeah.
hero, the romantic lead, they're always a little bit two dimensional. He falls in love, gets hurt, and then rises above it, ends up falling in love again. But the villain, you know, I just it's just so much fun to play the villain, right?
Yeah.
Although Javert wasn't a villain, he was a tragic character.
Yes. Because
So, but yeah,
Javert, and then one of the plays that I saw you perform in, Jekyll and Hyde.
yeah, that was
That's an
fun.
amazing
That
character.
was oh, that was difficult, but so much so much enjoyment to play that. We had no idea how I was going to do that scene where he fights with himself.
Yeah, when you fight with yourself, that was an
Yeah,
amazing.
that was but there's a point in the rehearsal where it starts to happen by itself, because you're working these two characters, and then when you get there you kind of know that's this is how he's gonna say it, and this is how that other person's gonna say it, and then it just takes over you, and it bizarrely happens.
Yeah. And another thing, would do you like being a director or being on stage as an actor? What would be at this
It
point in your
depends. It depends. I would like to work with actors that I mean, as an actor, I would like to work with actors that I trust, and can have fun with on stage, and work under a director that trusts me,
yeah,
and and can allow me to play, and and I would like to direct.
yeah,
In same vein, I would like. It's two different things. You see, um, the difficulty of being a director is at some point you gotta let go and let the actors take over, and you gotta trust them. And it's in that part that I have the most difficulty.
yeah,
When you've done the most that you can, and it's already opening night, and you can't do any more, although you think you want to, right?
yeah.
But that's why they say theater is an actor's medium, because when the actor gets
Yes.
on there, that's yeah, so it's different. I
How
enjoy
about
both.
acting on film, Michael? How about acting
Uh
on film?
I never got my head around uh acting for film. I tried TV. I did a TV teleserie before. I don't know. I prefer the throughput of theater. When you open the show, you go through your dramatic arc all the way to your end. Doing a film, okay, cut. We're gonna do this particular scene, and it's not necessarily in chronological order emotionally. So you have to do a lot of revving up and rethinking where you are, what's already transpired. There's a lot of that thinking.
Yeah. How about for Resorts World other than El Bimbo? Because that sort of prior to that you were doing mostly Western plays like
Mm-hmm.
Chit Bang and Annie and what's that? Sound of
Cinderella, Sound of
Cinderella.
Music.
And
Yeah.
then you did Ang Huling El Bimbo, which is completely worlds apart from that. Do you see uh, productions that are inspired by local literature or local music, or like, it seems to be a trend now because after El Bimbo, another production company did the songs of Apple, right?
Right.
And do you think that there's a general trend and
Yeah.
ages, right? The group
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
PETA
There
was
is
that
a
did ages songs.
Yeah, there is a trend. Yeah. But if you look at the early 30s and 40s, a lot of the Cole Porter stuff was like that. The song "Embraceable You," for example, makes an
Yes,
appearance in two different productions. One called "Very Warm for May," and then something else, but it features that same song. So they used to do these musical review type shows with the very thin storyline threading through them. Uh,
yes,
that's commonly done in theater. Then of course you have those other productions that are, told from scratch. You create the
yeah.
story, you create the music for it. So yeah,
So
the
getting people to appreciate new material is quite a challenge because uh, there are established hits from big theater productions abroad that are now touring here in the Philippines.
right,
We've the likes of Phantom of the Opera and Cats and um,
Wicked,
King, all
right.
being played and all that. So, what is the effect of these foreign productions and competing with your venue and your production company vis-a-vis rep? What do you think is going on? How is it
Um,
affecting?
well, it affects us in several ways. The good side of it is that the people don't have to fly out to watch those
Yes,
shows. They can see them, right? The negative side of that is that sometimes the smaller companies, there's a limited pool of um, corporate support or sponsorship that is available to theater. And always the thinking is still, oh, they're foreign, they must be good. So
yes,
they suck up a lot of the sponsorships, leaving hardly any for the local theater companies.
that's sad.
So that's one of the things that we still need to compete uh, with them for. But I think, you know the audiences, local audiences are wisening up, and they realize
Yeah,
that the local talents are just as good, and they're now patronize giving their patronage now to the local
yeah.
theater community. So that's a good thing.
Okay. Michael, we're down to our last 2 minutes. Would you believe?
No.
No,
Well, I've
let's not.
enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Michael. I really, really am so grateful that you have agreed to be part of the show tonight, episode 7. Here I am. I mean, I'm also new at the game, and I'm learning as I go. But the new normal and what's going on, I think it's a blessing that there is this avenue for us to get together. Even if we're
Yes.
apart because of the social distancing, and in a platform where we can share a common interest and love for theater with our audience and audiences that are not just here in the Philippines but also abroad. So for our last minute, Michael, what's your message to the theater enthusiasts out there that are, sad because all the theaters have gone dark and there are no performances? And as much as we can talk about theater, it you have made the point that being inside the theater is really the unique experience that we desire for them. So, any last message for our audience?
Yes, I do. Look at what's available right now on the internet. A lot of theater companies are providing their productions for viewing for free. Take advantage of that. Watch it all. Enjoy it while it's available. And then when on the other side, we will all see you on the other side of this pandemic. and we're looking forward to a revitalized audience, a revitalized theater industry, raring to go and give you shows and more great performances. So we'll just bide our time, and then we'll all be back sooner than you think.
Well, my friend, be well, keep healthy, keep on whipping up more products in the future because we in the audience are really going to watch out for your return on stage, Michael. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to bring episode 7 to a close. So come back next week, 6 o'clock. Remember, Let's Chat with Tita Gracie goes back live right here on V81 Radio. Thank you and have a good evening.
Leading personalities, represented insights, relevant current issues all together in a meaningful and delightful conversations as your social barometer. Let's chat with Tita Gracie. Let's chat with Tita Gracie. Sundays, 6 p.m. Hosted by breakthrough millennial boomer Gracie Venezuela. Let's chat with Tita Gracie. Only here on V81 Radio. Tunog Pinoy, Tatak Pinoy, the future of radio. This is your all hits, all Pinoy internet radio station. This is V81 Radio Worldwide.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta hot hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.